Have you ever noticed something kind of strange about how countries go to war? It seems like certain types of countries just don't fight each other. Well, that little observation is at the heart of one of the most fascinating puzzles in all of international politics.
So, this is the big question. Why don't democracies go to war with other democracies? And believe me, this isn't just an academic question. The answer has a huge impact on foreign policy, on military decisions, and really on the whole global search for peace. If we can crack this thing, we might actually have a blueprint for a safer world.
Now, that is a massive claim, especially in a field like political science where there are hardly any certainties. I mean, for decades, scholars have been poking and prodding at this idea, trying to find exceptions. But the core finding just keeps holding up. Established democracies really don't go to war with one another. And that incredible consistency is what's made everyone so obsessed with figuring it out.
Okay, so what is this strange political law all about? Let's really dig into the central paradox here. Because the first twist is, this isn't about democracies just being more peaceful in general. Oh no, the truth is way more interesting than that.
And here it is. This is the core puzzle. The data is pretty clear. On the whole, democracies are just as likely to get into conflicts and wars as any other type of country. They are not inherently more peaceful. But, and this is the crazy part, when a democracy is facing another democracy, that willingness to fight just seems to vanish. It's this contradiction that we have to solve.
Think about it like this. This special kind of peace isn't a quality that a democracy has, it's something that only seems to happen between them. So, in the lingo, it's a dyadic thing. It takes a pair. It's not monadic. A single democracy out there on its own isn't any more peaceful. And that's the paradox, right? If democratic ideals are what stop war, why do they only seem to kick in when another democracy is on the other side?
All right, so if we accept that this observation is real, what on earth could explain it? Well, researchers have come up with two big competing theories to try and solve this puzzle. It's a classic showdown, structure versus norms.
So the whole debate really boils down to this. Is it the political machinery or the political mindset? The structural argument points to what you could call institutional bricks. Democratic leaders can't just decide to go to war. They've got to deal with public opinion, checks and balances. It's a slow, messy process. And that delay gives both sides time to cool off and find a peaceful way out. But the normative model suggests it's more like a cultural handshake. The idea here is that democracies are built on compromise and negotiation at home, and they expect other democracies to play by those same rules. There's a built-in trust that leads to peaceful solutions.
But hold on, because the case is far from closed. There's a healthy dose of skepticism out there, and critics have raised some really tough questions that challenge this whole idea. They argue that maybe, just maybe, democracy isn't the magic ingredient after all.
The critics come at this from a few different angles. You've got the realists who say, look, this isn't about democracy, it's about power. Maybe these countries were peaceful because they had a common enemy or were in the same alliances. Then there's the statistical argument, which is pretty compelling. For most of history, there just weren't that many democracies, so the odds of two of them being in a position to fight each other were incredibly low. And then there's the economic view. Maybe it's not shared values, but shared wallets. This idea of a commercial peace suggests that when countries trade a lot, war just becomes too expensive to even think about.
And all this skepticism leads us to the absolute core of the issue. Is democracy actually the cause of this peace, or is it just a coincidence? Are we getting fooled by a simple correlation, while other things, like alliances or trade, are doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes?
Okay, so to get a better handle on this, let's take these ideas out of the abstract and look at two major real-world examples that really put these competing theories to the test.
First up, we have what is pretty much the poster child for the democratic peace theory, the European Union. We're talking about a continent that basically transformed itself from the world's bloodiest battlefield into a zone of incredible, lasting peace.
Just look at this journey. It's pretty amazing. It kicks off with historic enemies, France and Germany, literally tying their war-making industries together. Then you see a unified Germany fully embrace these shared democratic rules. And it all culminates with a wave of former communist countries becoming democracies and joining the club. For supporters of the theory, this is Exhibit A. It looks like as democracy spreads, that zone of peace just gets bigger and bigger. But now, let's look at a totally different situation that really complicates the picture: the relationship between the United States and China. This is where that alternative idea, the commercial peace, gets a serious test run.
So here you've got two global powers with completely different political systems. According to the democratic peace theory, this relationship should be pretty unstable. And for a long time, the commercial peace idea seemed to explain why it wasn't. Their economies became so deeply tangled up that a war would be catastrophic for both. It created this kind of tense peace, one built on shared interests, not shared values. But with tensions rising today, this case really makes you wonder, are shared interests enough to keep the peace forever?
So you might be thinking this is all just a fascinating academic puzzle, right? But this debate has massive real-world consequences. How we answer this question directly influences how countries try to build a more peaceful world.
Seriously, the answer to this puzzle directly shapes foreign policy. If you really believe that democracies don't fight each other, then the path to world peace suddenly looks pretty simple, doesn't it? Just create more democracies. And that exact idea has been a driving force behind major foreign policy decisions all around the world for decades.
And you can see exactly how the theory gets turned into action. It's the logic behind policies that promote democratic institutions in other countries. It's even been used to justify wars against non-democratic regimes, with the argument that it's a necessary step for long-term global security. And for some leaders, it becomes a non-negotiable starting point, a belief that true, lasting peace is simply impossible with countries that don't share their democratic values.
So in the end, it all comes down to this massive question for our future. What is the best path to peace? Is it about spreading shared values, trying to build a world full of like-minded democracies? Or is it about fostering shared interests, building a more fragile peace on a foundation of mutual benefit, even with countries that are very different from us? Figuring that out is one of the greatest challenges we face.